Have you ever felt like no matter how hard you work, money seems just out of reach? What if I told you that it's not about effort, but alignment? That hidden beneath the surface of everyday life are spiritual laws, divine principles, quietly shaping your finances. These aren't man-made systems. They're spiritual truths, ancient, powerful, and precise. Today, we uncover 7 divine laws that control your money, and when you work with them, prosperity flows not by force, but by faith. The law of divine supply. There is a place within the soul where lack does not exist. It is the inner chamber of truth, where the doors are never locked and the shelves are never bare. Divine supply is not something we chase, it is something we recognize. It is not created by toil or hustle, it already is. In the invisible, there is a treasury overflowing with every form of good, money, opportunity, clients, contracts, ideas, all waiting for recognition and release. Divine supply is never limited by appearances. What man calls scarcity, spirit calls illusion. The world may cry out, "There is not enough," but heaven whispers, "All that I have is thine." The moment we shift our vision from matter to mind, from fear to faith, the faucet turns and supply begins to pour. You are not separate from your source. You are not cut off from your good. You are connected by the divine current of consciousness, a living wire plugged into infinite substance. People believe money comes from jobs, investments, or economies, but those are simply channels, not the source. The law of divine supply teaches that God is the giver and the gift. When one channel closes, another opens. If the brook dries up, the river is already rising elsewhere. Never confuse the vessel with the source. Jobs may change, clients may come and go, but divine supply is constant, flowing, eternal. It does not retire, it does not expire, it does not depend on age, education, or environment. There is no competition in spirit. What is yours by divine right cannot be withheld. There is a supply with your name on it, earmarked, sealed, and encoded in the ethers. It is drawn to you not by force, but by spiritual law. You do not have to beg for what already belongs to you. You do not have to chase that which is already ordained. The secret is alignment, not struggle. The moment you know your supply is spiritual, invisible, and ever-present, the fear of loss dissolves. Money is not evil, nor is it carnal. It is a divine idea, pure, holy, and available. The mystic does not worship money, but neither does she repel it. She sees it rightly, as a servant of purpose. When money is seen as divine circulation, it begins to move with ease. If you hoard, it stagnates. If you resent it, it flees. But if you bless it, use it wisely, and expect it joyfully, it multiplies. The mind must be cleansed of old beliefs. Thoughts like, "I can't afford it," "money is hard to come by," or "I'll never get ahead," must be cast out like thieves in the temple. Every thought of limitation is a form of robbery. It blocks the gates through which your blessings flow. The law of divine supply responds only to truth. And the truth is, you live in an abundant universe. You are a child of the King. You are heir to the storehouse of heaven. There is no need to ration, restrict, or shrink. You were not made to just get by. You were made to overflow. Affirm, "I dwell in the midst of infinite abundance. I am the channel through which divine wealth flows." Say it not as a wish, but as a decree. The law listens to authority. The soul that knows becomes the magnet for miracles. The soul that wavers delays its own delivery. Let every bill be a blessing, every transaction an act of worship, and every dollar a carrier of divine intention. Spend with joy, give with freedom, and receive without guilt. This is the holy rhythm of divine supply. It flows through you, to you, and all around you, unceasing, unfailing, and ever faithful. The law of expectancy. Expectation is the invisible magnet that pulls unseen substance into form. What you prepare for, you make space for. What you confidently expect, you command into being. The law of expectancy is one of divine certainty. It does not respond to half-belief or double-mindedness. It answers the soul that waits with readiness and walks in faith as if the blessing were already in hand. To expect is not to wish. It is to know. It is the quiet authority that declares, "It is mine now," even while the outer world appears unchanged. Most people pray with their mouths but doubt with their hearts. They ask, but they do not prepare. They speak prosperity, yet continue to plan for shortage. The one who understands expectancy does not merely hope for good, they expect it as inevitable. They do not rehearse failure or prepare for disappointment. They bless the outcome before it arrives. They speak as though the answer were already visible, and in doing so, they create the conditions for its appearance. You cannot receive beyond what you expect. The universe cannot fill a vessel you have not opened. A small expectation draws a small result. A grand expectation opens the gates wide. The mind that fears disappointment shrinks its own harvest. But the mind that dares to believe in lavish supply, divine appointments, and perfect timing lays the foundation for miracles to manifest. When you expect riches, riches are set in motion. When you expect favor, doors begin to turn on silent hinges. Every day, you are planting seeds with your expectancy. Whether you know it or not, your thoughts are forecasts. If you expect delays, delays will line up at your door. If you expect loss, opportunities will wither. But if you rise in the morning and declare, "Something wonderful is on its way to me now," you stir the heavens to act on your behalf. Faith speaks the language of the finished work. Expectancy is the posture of one who knows they are backed by the entire kingdom of heaven. Children live by this law naturally. They expect their needs to be met, their desires to be fulfilled. They do not question the how. They trust the arrival. They ask for what they want and wait with open arms. The adult mind, crowded with doubt and conditioned by experience, must be retaught to believe. You must unlearn the habit of pessimism and rehearse trust. You must speak of your future not with dread, but with joy. Every fear-filled forecast must be reversed, every image of lack erased by a higher vision. Do not expect according to what you have. Expect according to who you are in spirit. Divine inheritance is not measured by your bank account or background. It is measured by your recognition of truth. If you identify with lack, you will expect less. But if you identify with the abundance of God, you will expect only the highest and best. Every moment is a doorway. You either enter it with doubt or step through with divine confidence. Your reality bends to the shape of your dominant expectancy. There is a preparation that comes with holy expectancy. You set the table before the guest arrives. You clean the house before the miracle walks in. You write the check before the money appears, not out of recklessness, but revelation. You act as though the promise is already kept, because in divine mind it is. The supply exists. The answer exists. The opportunity already has your name on it. You are not trying to make it happen. You are aligning with what is already ordained. Every word you speak is either an anchor or a key. You can bind yourself to delay with your own doubt, or you can unlock immediate blessings by expecting only good. There is no power in begging, pleading, or worrying. Power is in the calm assurance that what is yours cannot pass you by. The law of expectancy never fails. It works in the background, shaping form to match belief. The law of the spoken word. The tongue holds the key to creation. Words are not mere sounds, they are spiritual seeds. Once spoken, they go forth and set invisible forces into motion. The law of the spoken word is exact and unfailing. It cannot be escaped or silenced. Every word is a decree. Every sentence is a command to the unseen. You are constantly prophesying your future by what you say today. If you speak defeat, you will meet defeat. If you speak abundance, you prepare the way for it to appear. Long before a thing takes shape in the world, it takes form in thought, and thought becomes powerful when it is spoken. To speak is to give life. The mouth is the instrument of manifestation. The mystics knew this, that the word carries divine substance. When you speak with faith, you carve a path through the invisible. When you speak with fear, you cloud the road ahead. You are not describing your life, you are designing it. The law does not distinguish between truth or sarcasm, belief or habit. It listens only for conviction. Words wrapped in emotion become law unto themselves. When you say, "I can't afford it," the law agrees. When you declare, "I am richly supplied," the same law nods and begins arranging the form to match the statement. Life becomes the mirror of your mouth. It reflects what you announce, not what you secretly desire. People sabotage themselves daily, not with their actions, but with careless speech. They speak curses over their money, their health, their relationships, and wonder why conditions do not improve. But the wise guard their lips like a gate. They speak only what they want to see. They do not waste words on worry or gossip. They understand that every declaration is an order sent to the universal storehouse. There is power in repetition. The spoken word builds momentum. What you say often becomes what you believe, and what you believe becomes what you live. That is why affirmations, when spoken with intention, shift reality. It is not superstition, it is spiritual law. When you speak truth in the face of contradiction, you override appearance with authority. The word outpictures. It shapes the unseen into substance. The word must be spoken aloud to carry full force. Thought is creative, yes, but the voice gives it wings. The spoken word pierces the atmosphere. It moves energy. It acts upon the ethers. Speak abundance, and abundance hears its name. Speak healing, and cells respond. Speak favor, and doors begin to open. The more consistently you speak truth, the more aligned your world becomes with it. Words are never neutral. They carry frequency. They bless or they bind. When you say, "I am always struggling," you chain yourself to that struggle. When you declare, "Everything is working for my good," the machinery of the universe begins to turn in your favor. Many speak idly and wonder why confusion follows them, but those who speak with purpose walk in clarity and command. The law of the spoken word requires discipline. It asks you to speak what you desire, not what you observe, to declare the outcome, not the obstacle. This is not denial, it is dominion. The spiritually mature do not speak what the world shows them. They speak what the Spirit knows is true. They hold their words until they can bless with them. They speak not out of reaction, but from revelation. Begin the day with decree. End it with affirmation. Let no idle word pass your lips. Let every sentence be a seed of good. When fear rises, answer it with a truth spoken aloud. When lack whispers, respond with the voice of abundance. The tongue is the sword of spirit. Wield it with holy boldness. The law of giving and receiving. The universe is governed by circulation. All of life flows in rhythm. The breath goes out and it returns. The tide recedes and it rises again. The heart gives and receives in perfect beat. So it is with money, with energy, with love. Nothing is truly yours until you can release it. The law of giving and receiving is not a transaction. It is a divine circulation. When you give freely, you become a channel through which divine substance moves. Many hoard, believing they are securing their future, but what is held too tightly becomes stagnant. Water that does not flow becomes stale. Money that is feared becomes blocked. The soul that gives with resentment chokes the very stream it longs to widen. But the soul that gives with joy, knowing supply is endless, opens the floodgates of return. Giving is not loss. It is planting. And every seed sown in love returns in multiplied form. Give where you are spiritually fed. Give where your spirit rejoices. Give not from guilt or obligation, but from divine guidance. The law responds not to the size of the gift, but to the spirit behind it. A penny given with faith calls forth more than a fortune given in fear. You do not give to get. You give because you know you cannot be depleted. You give because giving is proof that you trust the source. Receiving is an equal part of the law. Many know how to give, but they do not know how to receive. They block their good with guilt, with false humility, with unworthiness. They turn away gifts, compliments, and blessings, and wonder why increase does not come. But to receive is to honor the giver. To receive with joy is to keep the law in motion. What you refuse, you repel. What you welcome, you multiply. The law of giving and receiving does not operate under pressure. It moves by grace. When giving becomes sacrifice, it is no longer spiritual. It becomes self-martyrdom. Divine giving is overflow. It is the joy of knowing that you are a vessel, not a reservoir. You do not give until it hurts. You give until it heals. You release knowing that nothing truly leaves your life. It only changes form and root before it returns again. There are many ways to give. Money, yes, but also attention, encouragement, gratitude, kindness, time, and prayer. Every form of giving activates the law. When you sow peace into another's heart, peace will be returned to yours. When you bless another's business, your own business expands. When you celebrate the wealth of others, your own riches increase. There is no envy in spiritual giving, only expansion. Do not fear that you will be left out or left behind. What you give, you place into the hands of divine intelligence. It knows how to return it to you, when and through whom. Often the blessing comes from unexpected directions, a stranger's kindness, a sudden opportunity, a door swinging open that had long been closed. The law is not bound by logic. It answers to faith, not formulas. You do not give and wait anxiously for return. You give and release. You do not watch the soil to see the seed grow. You trust the process. You trust the law. You walk forward as though the return were already in motion, because in truth, it is. The gift you gave last month, last year, or this morning may return when you need it most, in ways you could never predict. The soul that lives by this law becomes rich in every way, not only in money, but in relationships, in time, in peace, in joy. They are never without, because they are never withholding. They are fountains, not jars. They circulate, they move, they trust. They know that what flows out will surely flow back in multiplied measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. The law of substitution. No two thoughts can occupy the same space at the same time. The mind is a garden, and it cannot grow roses and thorns in the same soil. One must give way. The law of substitution is the divine principle by which fear is replaced with faith, doubt with truth, lack with abundance, and resentment with love. It is the spiritual act of choosing the higher thought and holding it until it becomes the only reality. The mind is not a fixed structure. It is a living field, constantly shaped by what we dwell upon. Every time a thought enters, it brings with it an image, a feeling, a vibration. If that thought is of worry, it plants seeds of confusion. If that thought is of faith, it sows peace and prosperity. But thoughts do not simply disappear by wishing them away. They must be replaced. Substitution is the sacred exchange, not merely resisting the wrong idea, but replacing it with the right one. You cannot banish darkness by shouting at it. You must turn on the light. So it is with the mind. You do not defeat fear by struggling with it. You rise above it by flooding the consciousness with truth. The moment fear whispers, "It won't work out," the higher self must respond, "All things are working together for my good." When lack speaks of limitation, the soul must declare, "My supply is infinite, my source is secure." The new thought must be held, spoken, and believed until it dissolves the false image and establishes a new pattern. This law requires vigilance. The mind left unchecked will default to habit, and habit is often rooted in error. Every day presents the opportunity to choose. You may choose defeat or dominion, complaint or gratitude, worry or wonder. The law of substitution does not ask you to deny what you see, but to affirm something greater behind it. Appearance may show loss, but truth declares restoration. Conditions may scream chaos, but spirit whispers peace. The moment you feel yourself slipping into fear or anger or despair, you must pause and insert the truth. Not later, not tomorrow, now. The longer you entertain the lie, the stronger its roots become. But truth is always stronger. It carries divine authority. It need only be invoked and believed. One clear word of faith, spoken with conviction, has the power to override years of fearful programming. This is the power of affirmation. It is not a chant or a charm, it is a spiritual substitution. When you say, "I am divinely guided," you are replacing confusion with clarity. When you say, "I walk in abundance," you are casting out poverty thinking and planting a new harvest. The spoken word becomes the tool of the substitution, an instrument that plucks out the weed and replaces it with the flower. Emotion adds fuel to this law. The thought you choose must not only be spoken, it must be felt. Feel the safety of divine protection. Feel the calm of answered prayer. Feel the richness of divine provision. The feeling fastens the thought into form. Without feeling, the word is weak. With feeling, it is a force. This law works in every realm, in health, in money, in relationships, in purpose. When your body speaks pain, substitute with the vision of healing. When the bank speaks lack, substitute with the image of overflowing supply. When a loved one speaks criticism, substitute with the inner knowing that only truth about you is real, and truth cannot be harmed. You are not at the mercy of thought. You are the chooser of thought, and with every substitution, you are rewriting your inner world. You are planting heaven where fear once grew. You are reclaiming the soil of your soul. The law is precise, but it is generous. It waits for your command. The law of non-resistance. Whatever you resist, you bind to you. Whatever you accept in peace, you allow to pass. The law of non-resistance is not weakness. It is divine mastery. To resist is to tighten the cords around what you fear. To allow is to rise above it and watch it dissolve beneath the weight of your calm knowing. Energy flows where attention fights. But when attention is released, the situation begins to unwind itself without force. Most people live in combat with their circumstances. They resist lack, and lack multiplies. They resist sickness, and it becomes louder. They resist injustice, and they inherit the burden of bitterness. But those who live by higher law know that resistance is not the path of power. When you meet life with stillness instead of struggle, the battle ends. The moment you stop pushing against the condition, it begins to lose its grip. The law of non-resistance asks the soul to loosen its fist, to surrender the outcome, not in despair, but in holy confidence. This is not giving up, it is giving over to the wisdom that guides the planets and the precision that orchestrates your breath. When the outer world presses in, the spiritually awake do not push back. They go within. They find the center, and from that center they become immovable and untouchable. Non-resistance does not mean agreement with error. It does not mean passivity. It means non-attachment. You no longer fuel the false image with emotional reaction. You do not empower the illusion by fighting it. You see it, you acknowledge it, and then you speak truth over it. Like a cloud drifting in front of the sun, you let the condition pass by without naming it as permanent. You do not chase it. You do not wrestle with it. You return to the light. The spiritual warrior does not strike with fists. They overcome with stillness. Resistance is born of fear. Fear believes that life must be controlled, that problems must be solved by struggle. But love knows that divine law is always at work. To love your enemy is to disarm their power over you. To bless your burden is to strip it of its weight. To smile at delay is to invite divine timing to take its place. Every act of non-resistance is a statement of trust. When people criticize you, do not return their energy. Bless them and walk on. When money seems delayed, do not chase it with worry. Declare your good is already on the way and release the need to grasp. When plans fall apart, do not crumble. The greater design is unfolding, though the pattern may not yet be clear. The moment you resist nothing, you are no longer held hostage by anything. Resistance creates blocks. It hardens the energy field, but surrender softens the path. When you are soft, things bend around you. When you are fluid, you cannot be broken. Non-resistance is not indifference. It is divine fluidity. You become like water, moving through, over, around, with grace. The wind cannot be caught, but it touches everything. So too, the soul that resists nothing becomes the most powerful force in the room. To live by this law is to remain poised in the face of pressure. It is to breathe peace into chaos, to respond with silence where others scream, to walk lightly where others stomp. It is the art of letting go before anything can truly grip you. It is the strength to release control and still know you are safe. The soul that resists nothing is the soul that can receive everything, for it has made room for miracles to move freely. When you stop fighting reality, reality transforms. When you stop needing things to change, they begin to shift without your effort. What you bless, you elevate. What you resist, you magnetize. The moment you drop your sword, you discover the walls were never real. Only your reaction kept them standing. The world may teach that money comes by toil, by hustle, by competition, but spirit whispers otherwise. Prosperity is not a chase, it is a choice. It is not earned by fear, but received by faith. These 7 laws are not secrets, they are sacred. They are written in the invisible and etched into the soul. They govern not only money but movement, not only wealth but worth. You are not at the mercy of economy, of bosses, of markets, of circumstance. You are ruled only by the laws you recognize. And when you choose to live by divine law, you align with unshakable substance. You become a living magnet to right ideas, right people, right provision. Each law is a door, and you hold the key in consciousness. Speak with power. Expect without wavering. Give with joy. Receive without shame. Substitute every fear with truth. Resist nothing and watch everything align. Supply flows to the prepared mind. Wealth flows to the grateful heart. You are not here to scrape by. You are here to overflow. Let the laws do the lifting. Let the truth do the work. Let spirit go before you and make the crooked places straight. The money, the opportunity, the solution, the increase, it is already yours, and it is already on its way, under grace, in a perfect and miraculous manner.